Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Would you believe me if I told you that this one video launched a man's last attempt at a stream into a realm of possibility? Because that's exactly what it did. Meet Scott Cawthon, at the time, 36-year-old game developer who's been developing games for 23 years at this point. Quoted from a Geeks Under Grace interview, "My mom bought me a program called Click and Play when I was 13, and I've been making games ever since." With most of these games that he created having certain Christian themes as something to do in his free time and as well pay respect to his Lord. But, as said by Scott, despite good reviews, my Christian projects were all financial failures. But even with all of this, Scott pushed, though eventually, he's got to make money somewhere, so I decided to change careers, at times pursuing web design, then computer programming, even truck driving, but I always felt drawn back to games. And after being drawn back to games again, Scott made a game infamous now for its reputation at the time, called Chipper & Sons Lumber Company. And it didn't go well, both being a financial and critical disappointment, which hurt Scott in a lot of ways. As said by the man himself, "I had made a family-friendly game about a beaver before this, but it was criticized online. People said the main character looked like a scary animatronic. I went into a pretty deep depression and was ready to give up game making. But then, using the criticism, something big was born. As Scott's final attempt to pursue his passion, he said that something in me snapped, and I thought to myself that I bet I can make something a lot scarier than that. And so Scott went on to work on developing a game this time with no Christian themes. It ain't family friendly. A game that we all know now as Five Nights at Freddy's. And the rest is history." Hey there, folks. I hope you're having a good day. As today, I want to talk about a series that was a big part of my childhood, and still a big part of my life to this day. But enough with the intro. Hi, the name's Landon, and I'm doing stuff. And today, that stuff is talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. So, after the poor reception of Chipper & Sons, Scott went on to realize that if people were complaining that his characters for a lighthearted kids game were scary by accident, if he actually tried, he could make something really scary. And with that, Five Nights at Freddy's was born. And soon after released on August 8th, 2014. Though not Steam like you would expect, but instead a platform named Desura, as Scott wasn't given the green light to release it on Steam at the time. But after a bit of time, people saw the game actually, and started to play it. Specifically, Let's Play YouTubers. Or Let's Players, if you'd prefer to just call them that. And one YouTuber played this game that I think you all know. But if you don't worry, he's a pretty small channel. It's not very, he's known, but not much, Someone by the name of Markiplier. Yeah, he made a video titled, "Warning, Scariest Game in Years. Five Nights at Freddy's Part 1. Released on August 12th, only 4 days after the release of the game. And thanks to this video, since so many people saw and started playing Five Nights, it got the Steam greenlight on August 18th, only 10 days after the game's launch on Desura, and 6 days after Mark's video. So, what's the deal with Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF for short? Why did it catch on so quickly?
Hello.
So, in Five Nights at Freddy's, it's a horror/tower defense game. We play as a new security guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Think of it as just this world's Chuck E. Cheese. And your goal is to not only make sure no burglars break into the establishment, which, don't worry, they won't. Scott didn't do that. He's not evil. But, as the guide for the player, Phone Guy says in his first call,
the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long.
Meaning that you gotta deal with these animatronics trying to come into your office. And I quote,
They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit.
Which, if you're wondering, yes, it will kill you. But not to fret, as you have doors to protect yourselves, and lights to cover the only blind spots in the pizzeria, in front of your doors. Wow, was this place just designed to kill me? Like, Jesus Christ. As well, you also have a tablet with a camera system on it, so you're not just guessing whenever Freddy shows up so you can slam the door in his face. But anyways, that's it for the game mechanics and plot synopsis that we're given. Phone guy hangs up on the first night, and it's us, alone against the animatronics. And speaking of the animatronics, why don't we go over the death robots we'll be encountering in this wacky pizzeria? Well, the first being the most obvious, that one being Freddy Fazbear, the leader of the main crew, with his best buds Bonnie the Bunny and Chica the Chicken. With Bonnie coming to your left door and Chica coming to your right, with both being very easy to spot on the cameras. Except for Bonnie on the left hall cam, I always have to double check. It's kind of crazy how he blends in so well because of the shadows. And Freddy coming from your right as well, but being much harder to see on the cameras than the other two. Sometimes he doesn't even show up on the camera if Bonnie and Chica are there. So it's much harder to tell where he is. But later in the video, I'll tell you how you can spot him. It's pretty easy, actually. But you may be asking, hey Landon, why does only Bonnie go to the left side? Isn't it kind of imbalanced? Wouldn't you have Freddy go in both the left and the right side to make it more fair? And to that I say, Foxy the Pirate Fox, the last of our characters in the original game. He hides in Pirate's Cove and will dash towards your office from the left side, if you don't check on him frequently enough. But right now, again, you might be saying, hey Landon, why don't I just keep my doors closed all night, so that Freddy can't turn me into a furry? Well, Mr. or Miss GigaChad, the reason, if you take a look at the bottom left of your screen, you'll see you have a limited amount of power, and using more things like the doors, lights, and cameras drains the power faster. And trust me, you don't want that power to reach zero. It's not fun. Well, look. Yeah, from that point, it's game over. Unless if you're at 5 a.m., as you need to make it to 6 a.m. to clock out and end your shift. And that's all, folks. That's the main gameplay loop. Check cams, check lights, and slam doors in the hunk of junk's faces. A simple but effective gameplay loop that feels, pretty good to master. But now with all the basics out of the way, I want to dive into each of the 5 nights and see how they hold up. So, play that transition. Night 1. I think this night is the most boring night in the entire Five Nights at Freddy series. I think Bonnie and Chica attacked me a total of 3 times, as both Freddy and Foxy aren't active yet. Because, this night is here as a tutorial, being the first thing you'll play in the game. I want to get you familiar with how the game mechanics work, and, in a nice, safe environment. So, not much more to say here, just very boring, second, or third, or fourth playthrough, Anyways, on to Night 2. Again, being very slow-paced. Though, now with Foxy active, you have much more incentive to check cams to make sure he doesn't come for your fucking asshole. But realize as well that only checking cams and not lights and doors is a one-way ticket to Death City. So this night is, again, a great tutorial to learn how to keep the balance and getting that muscle memory in. So, pretty nice night. Better than Night 1, but still pretty boring for another playthrough. Night 3. Now, this is where the game gets much more interesting, with the main man Freddy finally activating, and ready to kill a security guard. With this activation and the increase on Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy's difficulty, this night feels much faster than the last few, which makes it much more interesting, and much better than Night 1 and 2. But there's just one problem with this, and that's the difficulty curve feels crazy. It's not a hard night, I can beat it no problem, but it just feels so hard because of how easy Nights 1 and 2 were. But anyways, almost at the end here with Night 4. I don't have much to say about this night. Since, all the animatronics are now activated, the game is just going to keep increasing the difficulty of the animatronics, trying to teach you how to hone your skills and balance checking cams, lights, and slamming doors, without using too much power. So, anyways, on to the last night with Night 5. It's honestly the same as Night 4, just harder, but by this time I had a strategy down that worked most of the time, so I just defaulted to that. And boom, 6 a.m. Your 5 nights at Freddy's are done. And with that, your paycheck is yours as well. Little star on the task screen, and oh my god! A 6th night! Who could have seen that one coming? Someone better throw an asterisk in that title! Yeah, it's the same stuff. I didn't play it for this video for reasons I'll get into soon. But after being the 6th night, you get another star, and unlock a custom night, where you can tune the animatronics difficulty to your liking. And of course, if you beat the night with all the animatronics set to the highest difficulty, 20-20-20-20 mode, or 420 for short, you get a pink slip saying you're fired, as well a third and final star on the tail screen. And that's all for FNAF 1. So, how does the game hold up? Well, before I put it on the tier list and rank it, I want to express a few thoughts I have. So I'll start with the good, but then I'll head into the bad. So let's talk about the final thoughts. So, anyways, what are my final thoughts on FNAF 1? Well, nights 4 and 5 are a blast, being much faster paced than the earlier nights, with 3 feeling alright. Not bad, but not good. At least we got all the animatronics active now. But of course, not as good as the last 2 nights. And Scott did manage to give this feeling of worry with the sound design, and camera renders with highlights like Bonnie staring at the parts and service camera, and Freddy staring at the stage camera, and of course Foxy running down the left hall camera. Overall, it helps portray, that they know you're there and want you dead. And I know I said this before, but the sound design is, good. Really good. A YouTuber named Scruffy made 2 videos about sound design for FNAF. I suggest going to check them both out. They'll be linked in the description. They're great watches. If you want to hear more about this stuff, he goes very in-depth, especially in the first one about FNAF 1. So, go give him a watch after you're done with this video. But, anyways, now for the complaints. I mainly have 2. One of them being that the first 2 nights are so boring. I do nothing but sit there, and it just makes me feel like Night 3 has such a high difficulty curve when it isn't even that hard. It's just that Nights 1 and 2 are so bare bones because it's only like Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, which Foxy's barely moving because he's on 2 difficulty. Night 3 feels so crazy thanks to Freddy's activation. As well, the nights in this game are long. Really, really long. 8 minutes and 55 seconds. Almost 9 minutes each night, which granted means the base game, no 6-night or custom night, can be in about 45 minutes. So that's pretty fast. But that also means that for about 20 of the 45 minutes you're playing, you're doing nothing but wait for Bonnie to try to attack you in nights 1 and 2, which is crazy. Almost all the time we're spent playing the game, it's so boring. It's just a slog for about half the time you're playing. But I got a trick for you guys. If you just click Freddy's nose on the poster in the office, which will honk, and then press C, D, and plus all at the same time, it'll skip the night. So if you want to skip night 1 and 2, use that trick, but play the rest of the game normally like a good boy. And don't be a dirty cheater. I'm just condoning it when it's really boring. So yeah, with all of that being said, that's 5 Nights at Freddy's. Scott Cawthon's last chance of achieving his passion, and it worked out. So, with all being said, it's time we finally go ahead and rank this game, folks, with a tier list time. Oh yeah, man, we missed this so much.
Was that the bite of 87?
Anyways, folks, what's up? Nice to be talking to you again. Let's just cut to the chase. Where does FNAF rank? Well, I'm thinking definitely B tier. While it has its problems, FNAF 1 is still a pretty good game, all things considered. Sure, nights may be long, nights 1 and 2 are a slog, but there are ways to get around it, like the CD plus night skip, and anything after that is pretty good. But anyways, folks, that's all I have for you today. Sorry that this video is very small. I wanted to get this out. The next video should be a lot longer, because the next game that I'm talking about is much bigger. But anyways, yeah, that's all I had to say. Please, if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, hit the bell. You can always unsub and dislike if I get canceled and you end up hating me, but I don't think you can delete a comment, so be careful with that part. But anyways, folks, I'll be back, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out, everybody, and have a great night, and always be yourselves.